Good morning, everyone. So today for the supplementary materials, we're going to be covering comets. And the reason we're going to be doing that is because comets is recently a very popular and also famous thing. And that is because just a few days ago, there was a comet called Comet Neowise that came and visited Earth. And in fact, it visits Earth very rarely. It only comes here every 6,800 years. So we're probably not going to see it again in our lives. But anyways, a friend in North Carolina took this picture. You can see Comet Neowise right here. He took this on top of a mountaintop. And me and my mother went to the rural areas of Boston and took this photo. It's less clear, but you can still see a little bit of a faint tail of Comet Neowise right here. So now I'm going to talk about some of the most famous and most important missions that is going to comets. So the first ever mission that has been launched to observe a comet is of the ICE spacecraft, and it was launched in 1978. So that's a very long time ago, and it was launched by NASA, and it visited 21P. And right here you can see the ICE spacecraft, and in my opinion, it actually looks very, very cool. I don't know what you guys think, but I believe it's very cool. And the two most famous missions is probably Rosetta and Philae, and they were actually launched together in 2004 by the ESA. You can see here Rosetta is the bigger spacecraft, while Philae is the small one. Philae is actually a lander, so it lands on the surface of the comet, while Rosetta orbits the comet, and they went to 67P. These are just less famous, but still pretty important missions. And most of them went to the Halley comet. Actually, Halley comes to Earth pretty fairly like common. The next time it's going to come is 2061, so we're probably going to see it in our lives. So now I'm going to talk a little bit more about the anatomy of a comet. We're going to focus on the picture on the right first. At the top and top middle is the nucleus of a comet, which is like the hard, gray, rocky part of a comet. And right around it is called the coma. And probably the most distinctive thing about the comet is its tail. There's actually two tails of a comet, the ion tail and the dust tail. The ion tail is more bluish and purple in color, while the dust tail is more grayish and white in color. And the left is a more detailed photo, and you can see that in front of a comet there's a hydrogen envelope, which I believe is really cool. So I'm going to talk more about the two most famous missions, Rosetta and Philae, and what they discovered. So Rosetta, as I said, went to 67P with Philae. It was an orbiter. It was packed with many spectroscopes and also radars. It was to make its own observations, its own experiments, and take pictures of 67P. And at the end, Rosetta was actually intentionally crashed into 67P, and it broadcasted a little bit of a final, pretty detailed data back to Earth. And Philae was a lander, and it was for picking up CONSERT, which has a really long name. It's called the Comet Nucleus Sounding Experiment by Radio Wave Transmission. But it was to pick up that radio beam and also doing some of its own experiments. And landing Philae was way harder than expected, and it actually bounced twice before landing in a very not optimal spot. And you can see on this photo that Rosetta took in space. Philae is here, which is a space that receives basically no sunlight. So many of its instruments didn't function because it didn't receive enough sunlight for it to function. And I'm going to talk about what Rosetta and Philae discovered. So the first thing they discovered is actually that comets have a very complex shape. And in fact, 67P was shaped like a rubber duck. And you can see right here, this is a rubber duck, this is 67P. And I believe this is a very cool coincidence. Actually, comets have a complex shape, but scientists thought it was like a potato or round shape. So this proved that what they thought was incorrect. Also, Rosetta discovered that comets have a complex surface, like it has canyons, it has cliffs, it has similarities to Earth's surface. So scientists originally thought it was smooth potato shape. So that proved that they were wrong too. And actually, comets also contain the building blocks of life, like the amino acid glycine and also the complex form of carbon, which makes people believe that comets was the reason why Earth has life. Maybe a comet crashed onto Earth and it seeded Earth with what was basically needed to create life. Rosetta and Philae also discovered that comets contain a different type of liquid than water, which is contrary to scientists' belief because they thought that water from comets were the reason that Earth had water, but instead, the water on comets had like a completely different composition. So like it's completely different from the terrestrial water we're familiar with. So that might disprove scientists' claim. And also, comets actually sing. They make a sound. It isn't like humans singing. It's pretty different from that. But I still believe it's a very very cool thing that comets sing. And actually, I prepared a short clip for you guys. It's basically what 67P should sound like according to Rosetta's discoveries and measurements. So let's take a listen. Okay, so that was a short clip of like what 67P sounded like and the so-called singing of 67P, which I think is very cool. And by the way, Rosetta and Philae also discovered that comets stink a lot. It actually stinks like rotten eggs, cat urine, and also bitter almonds, which isn't that fun of a fact, but it like you have to just accept it. Comets stink. And it was because of the stinky chemical substances and material that was located in the comet's coma, which Rosetta discovered. And as it just said, a coma is the part that is around the nucleus or the hard rocky part of a comet. And last, landing on a comet is very hard, like I just said. Philae unfortunately almost didn't like power up anything because, or almost didn't succeed because it landed really really badly. But unfortunately, we learned it the hard way, and we're probably going to improve the next time we're going to land on the comet. So now that's probably all of the supplementary materials we're going to be covering. I actually want to recommend to you guys a book. It's basically just called Astronomy. But this book is very informative. It has many different things about astronomy, from its history to stars to exoplanets. Like if it just randomly go to a page like this, for example, this page talks about the first asteroid goes missing. This one is called Fraunhofer's lines. So there's many different topics on this book, like also cosmic background explorer, supernovas. So if you are actually like interested into things relating to what I talked about today, then I really hope that you could like buy this book. It will actually help out a lot, but it's still your choice. And I'll actually send a link to how to buy this book in the group chat. And that's basically it for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. And thank you today for listening to the supplementary materials. I hope you have a great day. Thank you.